I, made some questions
No
for the interview. Some fans consider the Master Band like the first one on the death metal genre. Do you agree with this title? That the first band of death metal in the world. What do you think about
let's
this?
Let's just say that we are one of the originators. The band got as far as taking photographs in 1983 on Halloween, and we had songs together. The original drummer, Bill Schmidt, wrote some really good songs, Pledge of Allegiance, Terrorizer, and the master song with some friends. He and I got together and started practicing and searched for almost 2 years to find a guitar player. Over a year, let's say. And in 1985, the summer of '85, into the fall area, we began recording. You know.
And that time, it was few death metal bands.
There were no death metal bands.
No death metal bands.
No.
The Master was the first one.
Let's just say there was no genre title death metal at that time. Master was just playing metal, and actually around that time a cassette tape was forwarded to me, and it had songs from the Master demo in 1985, and it had some live death rehearsals, and it also had the song The Exorcist on there from Possessed. Late '85, or like I said, 86, 85, 86. But the point was that we got a record contract in '85, and we didn't sign that record contract, but Death and Possessed got the same contract several months later, and they signed that contract. So this is the reason why these bands are credited with the beginning of the genre. In reality, Master was one of the first, let's just say.
The first, perfect.
And the band Master, we couldn't get it together, so I put together a band called Death Strike as well. And actually, Death Strike recorded before Master. Master recorded later in the year, in '85. Death Strike recorded in the spring. So if you want to say that, Death Strike probably was one of the first. The band was influenced by bands like Motorhead, of course, GBH, Minor Threat, Discharge, MDC, a lot of the earlier punk metal bands, I guess you'd say. This was our biggest influences, Black Sabbath, of course.
Yeah, okay.
This is a long time ago, of course.
So perfect. Just a second. Tá gravando bem? Tá. Tá. Beleza.
I mean, I don't want to take credit away from anybody. Let's face it. Death, Possessed, Master, Death Strike, these were some of the earliest bands. Autopsy, this all came around the same time, yeah?
After that, Morbid Angel, Decide,
sure.
But almost the 90s.
Terrorizer band,
Terrorizer.
Which obviously was a band that got their name from the Master demo. The instrumental on Master was called Terrorizer, of course. They were influenced as well. And then they went to Morbid Angel. The influences from Death Strike and Master were influential on many bands, of course. Nausea, Napalm Death, many bands, Carcass.
Carcass, yes, I like Carcass.
Bill Steer used to write me when he was a kid. He actually wrote me a handwritten letter back in the tape trading days saying, Paul, I quit Napalm Death and I'm starting this new band, Carcass. And he sent me that in a letter with an early Napalm Death patch. So it's really a small world, you know.
It's perfect. Wow, let's go to the next question.
Sure.
I read that you live sometime in Czech Republic.
I've been there for 12 years now.
12 years?
Yeah. It's nothing
wow. Could you tell me a little about this experience? You play in a Czech band.
Yeah, I met Kravathor.
Kravathor.
Yeah,
Yes,
I met Kravathor on the 1999 tour. Was a Malevolent Creation Master Kravathor tour in Europe. It was like 42 cities in a school bus with no toilet and no facilities. It was very difficult. But anyway, we met each other and I started playing sound checks with the drummer from Kravathor, just jamming on bass and drums, and we hit it off and we got along really well. And guitar player and I, Christopher, got along as well, and I said to the guys, would you guys like to do maybe a project album together? And we recorded a project. I went home and wrote some songs, and Christopher wrote songs, and I called System Shock in Germany and said, hey, I want to do a project with these guys, and we pay for it. He sent me the money for the airfare, and I flew to Czech. We recorded the project, and during the recording, the bass player from Kravator quit the band, and they asked me, would you like to join our band? And I said, well, I'll go home and sell my stuff, and I'll give it a shot. So I came to the Czech Republic in 2000, and joined their band, and 2 weeks later we were in Japan. And
12 years.
Yeah, and
it's so long time.
Yeah, so then from 2000 to 2004, I recorded master records, but also played with Kravator. And then the band broke up, and then I just continued again with master, and I'm still there and here, and still going here.
And speaking about the country, it's very different. I have been in Czech Republic in 2010. It's totally different in the culture. What did you see, the experience that you had?
Well, when I arrived in the Czech Republic in 1999 or whatever, 2000, was dark and dreary, and the Russian arm was still there, you know, the Eastern Europe, and it was like all the buildings were old and dilapidated and really scary when I got there. I was like in a concrete jungle with all old buildings, and it just really didn't look very enticing. But obviously the European Union money came in, and now everything is new. They painted everything, all the buildings are remodeled, they're redoing all the streets, the highways, everything. You know? I've seen a really big difference in 12 years, of course. It's night and day. You know?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, how do you see the death metal scene nowadays in the United States and in the rest of the world?
Well, I'd say I'm happy to see bands like, let's say, White Remains and Absu, for example, and thrash bands like Creator. It's nice to see all these bands are still going. Obviously, Master, the scene's still going. Just the thing is today is I don't see many new ideas. Like the younger bands are all copying Death and Master and Motorhead, and I don't see anything new anymore. It's a problem for me because all the fans get angry in these magazines when they read this stuff, but I don't see anything new. I'm sorry to say that. I've been in the scene for, nearly 30 years. Next year is 30 years. And in today's genre, I don't see anything new. I see regurgitated riffs over and over. I don't hear the differences in the singers anymore. Everybody's using drum machines or this new recording, and it's like the drum sounds the same. Back in the day, we didn't have all this computer technology. We had to record on 2-inch tapes, and when the drummer made a mistake, you had to record the song again. Today, you push a button. These Pro Tools are ruining the music industry for me. Yeah.
So do you think that are few new death metal bands?
I don't know any. I don't listen to death metal, so I don't know any new death metal bands. But I'm touring with bands every year all around the world. And sometimes I do merchandise for bands. Like I was on tour with 6 Feet Under doing merch, or back in the day, Dissection, different bands and stuff. And I honestly, a lot of support bands, I don't see anything new in the last 12 years, Sorry to say that, just my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, just my opinion.
Yeah, and of course, you mentioned another death metal